Good evening to all the dignitaries, members and special guests. On behalf of our chairperson, Ms. Ritu Shah, I, Smita Sanghi, Honorary Joint Secretary, Flow Hyderabad Chapter, would like to welcome you to an enlightening session on future role of women in India with the inspiring and dynamic Srimati SMRITI ZUBIN IRANI ji, Union Cabinet Minister of Women and Child Development. May I kindly request everyone to please put your phones on silent and rise for the national anthem.
Jana Gana Mana Adhinayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchala Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे Jaya 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 He.
It is an honor to request the floor chairperson, Ms. Ritu Shah, our honorable guest today, Srimati SMRITI ZUBIN IRANI ji, Union Cabinet Minister of Women and Child Development, along with our floor past chairpersons, Ms. Rekha Lahoti, Ms. Priyanka Ganeriwal, Ms. Usha Rani Manne, Ms. Shubhra Maheshwari, to come forward for the lighting of the lamp. Requesting everybody to please proceed for a group photo. We at Flow Hyderabad Chapter believe in the importance of sustaining her ability. Together, we aim to inspire and nurture the entrepreneurial and professional spirit through networking, educating, and making women more empowerable and absorbable in the markets. Let's take a look at the months gone by and the impact that we have created together. Can I have the video, please? Thank you. Our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has said, today in modern India, women are leading us to a better future. India's vision is not just of development that benefits women, it is of women-led development where women lead the journey of progress. It is a privilege to stand before you today to introduce Srimati SMRITI ZUBIN IRANI ji, a muse, an icon, and authority. If I begin to introduce, I may be challenging for me to stop. Yet, with a little justice, I shall do the same briefly. The unparalleled presence of Miss SMRITI IRANI ji, her life's journey serves as a flare of hope, illuminating the path for countless others to follow. A beautiful example of grit, grace, and dedication. SMRITI IRANI ji is strongly committed towards empowering women, improving education, and promoting economic growth. This has made her a role model for many. Her fearless and outspoken approach is advocating for women's rights and social issues has garnered respect and admiration. SMRITI IRANI ji's life story is purely a source of motivation for women striving to break barriers and make a difference in their fields. SMRITI IRANI ji can be defined as a catalyst of change, an exemplar of resilience, and unwavering advocate for empowerment. Join me in extending our warmest welcome to Miss SMRITI ZUBIN IRANI ji as we embark to an exciting journey of inspiration and empowerment. It is with immense pleasure that I now invite our chairperson, Ms. Ritusha, our guests, SMRITI ZUBIN IRANI ji, our moderator for today, Mr. Sriram Curry, on the dais. Our chairperson will now felicitate our guest of honor and our moderator, Mr. Sriram Curry. Mr. Sriram Curry is an author, journalist, and orator. He works as the resident editor of Deccan Chronicle. He has written for the New York Times, BBC, Economic Times, among others. I now invite our chairperson, Ms. Ritusha, to address the gathering and take the session forward.
Respected guest of honor, Srimati SMRITI IRANI ji, Union Cabinet Minister of Women and Child Development and Minority Affairs. Esteemed torchbearers of empowerment, floor members, and our special guest. On this occasion, I am reminded of the powerful message delivered by our Honorable Prime Minister, Srimati Narendra Modi ji, who aptly expressed, "Women are the guiding force behind the transformation of society." Our dream is to make women equal partners in India's development. When women are empowered, societies wither away. Empower women, empower society. It is thanks to his efforts towards women empowerment that resulted in the historic Women Reservation Bill being passed in both the Houses of Parliament on 21st of September 2023. It is evident that the future of India rests significantly on the shoulders of our women, and it's crucial that we continue to foster an environment that encourages their growth and participation in every sphere. I am thrilled to have the privilege of welcoming the esteemed Srimati Zubin Irani ji, whose exemplary journey and unwavering commitment to the empowerment of women serve as a beacon of inspiration for all of us. At Flow, we fervently believe in empowering women, fostering grassroots education and entrepreneurial programs while nurturing leadership development for women in senior roles. Our commitment to advocating women's active participation in shaping society and the economy remains unwavering. We curate powerful and influential speakers to motivate and inspire our members and partner with premier institutions like ISB, IITH and T-Hub, etc. to offer management development courses, startup support and much more. Additionally, our comprehensive financial and digital literacy programs, including free Tally Pro and other certified courses, prepare grassroots women for the job market absorbability. Flo's relentless dedication is transforming women from all strata, empowering them for a brighter future. Ma'am, as a former textile minister, you might be aware of Telia Rumal Weave, and for this sector, our Figi Flow chapter is passionately championing Telia Rumal, an intricately woven fabric from the cultural depths of Puttapaka village, Telangana. Beyond a mere textile, it embodies a cherished legacy and the remarkable skill of local artisans. Recently, our efforts culminated in a substantial grant from Puttapaka Telia Rumal weavers, underscoring our dedication to empowering artisans and preserving cultural heritage. Furthermore, our triumph extends globally with the Telia Rumal being proudly featured at the G20, spotlighting India's vibrant textile tradition. I would now like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Srimati SMRITI ZUBIN IRANI ji for honoring us with her presence today. I am confident that her journey and wealth of experiences will be valuable source of learning for all of us. Remember, women are the true backbone for society and a contribution invaluable. Empowering women should be our collective mission. Thank you so much. Namaste.
So good evening. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. Every time in the last few years that I've had the absolute honor of being a moderator at any of the Fiki Flow events, and I'm told this is the speaker you're going to have to prepare questions for, I often think of a couple of links between the speaker, their personality, their career, their life, their values to both the organization organizing it and to the country and society at large. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge. Yesterday when I was, day before yesterday, I was told we'll be having Smriti Irani ji here. One, I had absolutely no doubt within a second to say, more than any speaker who's ever been at Fiki Flow stage, she embodies your values absolutely. She is what many of you are and what many of you would like to be in parts and as a whole. Second thing, I was trying to ask myself, what is the connect of this conversation to India? I always try to kind of connect every conversation to the larger point of a nation, and we've heard this line, India is unity in diversity. I was thinking about you. From your birth, your family, your life, your career, you represent so many different diversities come together. I think if India is unity in diversity, she is a great personification of that spirit. So with this in mind, I'll ask her a couple of questions. Rituji will ask her a couple of questions. And she is instructed that most questions should come from the audience. It's normally 80-20. 80 questions from here, 20 is the other way around now. And since nobody can defy her, we'll follow it strictly. So keep your questions ready. We'll come to you very, very quickly. So my absolute first question is, you have seen life, you have seen the ups and downs of life, you've seen the challenges of career, you've seen the challenges of successes and failures. You've been a giant killer, though I know you called your opponent hardly a giant, but you are somebody who's combative, you have humor, you have wit, your fans, even amongst those who may not otherwise agree with your politics, you've created such a success. Everybody would like to understand it. How you've gone about it? How did you create this kind of a personality that can do this? What were the lessons from some of the darkest phases of life? And how do you stay positive? How do you stay so focused to operate in a field at a level where all the time people are looking at you to make the tiniest mistake, they attack you, seeing the criticisms and controversies in your life, you're attacked unfairly sometimes. How do you go about it? Because your lessons, your inspiration would mean a lot to each one of them.
I think most women share my experiences. The only difference is they don't come with a mic. Um, the way you have illustrated your question almost sounds as if I am on the verge of retirement. Oh, you've lived such a life. How have you dealt with it? Mine is not a sob story. Mine is the story of a woman who had an opportunity at every turn of life and grabbed that opportunity to live, wouldn't say better, but live a fuller life. I, at a very early age, had decided that on my deathbed, I do not want to be an individual with regrets. What if I had done so and so? What if I had not done such a thing? And that, I think, is the point from which I've led my life. I've always, as an individual, even at the age of 12, told my cousins, my sisters, even my parents, that if life is about choices, then I better bear the consequences of my choices and nobody else's. So I think that if you have that commitment to life and living, you end up living a life that I have. I have never shied away from an opportunity. I don't live with regrets. I, yes, do try and get myself a personal perspective, not only to failures but also success. Because the biggest fallacy is that failures will define your way forward. If you don't know how to deal with success, that can also bring a full stop to living. So I, at a very young age, had read Rudyard Kipling's If. And I think that if anything, my life is a testimony to that poem. Because Kipling had said in his poem that you need to treat success and failure just the same, and then you're truly a man. But I think Kipling didn't know he was writing about Indian women.
So Ritiji has promised I'd like you to ask the next question and a couple of more and then we'll come to you. I hope somebody's got the mics ready to go into the audience, please.
Smriti ji, thank you so much for gracing the chapter today with your presence. So, my questions precisely is a very technical and a very relevant one. So, I would just like to ask you, how significant is the Women Reservation Bill, the Nari Shakti, for empowering women, not just politically, but also beyond?
I think that this affirmative action brings to the fore three aspects of our society's growth. One is that the biggest, again, fallacy is that the Women's Reservation Bill is a struggle which is 30 years old. When we attained constitutional independence, and those who were writing the Constitution were approached by women from various states and stratas of society. And those women who did not have political pedigree, they had told the writers of the Constitution that there will come a time where women from non-political backgrounds will face a challenge with regards to political parity. They had demanded affirmative action for themselves then. Nobody at that time imagined that our country would come to such a pass where there would indeed be a need for that political parity to be given. Women then had said that we do not seek an added indulgence. What we seek is an equal opportunity to compete. That being said, in the 1970s, this proposal came from a lady from Bengal who did not enjoy the comforts of being a very, very active congressperson. And when she had proposed this, the erstwhile Bharatiya Janasangh at that time, in the 1973 document with regards to status of women, my original avatar of my political organization had vehemently said in writing that there needs to be a constitutional mandate for women to get political parity, hence there should be reservation. And this was said by my political organization in 1973. So one the fallacy that this is just a 3-decade-old demand. Imagine the foresight of those women in 1947 from the rural ramparts of our country, from not very politically esteemed families, to go forth and have the foresight to say that women in the coming years will face this trouble. Imagine in the 1970s, for a political organization like the Janasangha, which has always been accused of being chauvinistic, vehemently stating in writing that women in our country need this constitutional guarantee. Now, when this agenda was legislatively prescribed, our commitment was more than obvious and more than pronounced. But I still remember distinctly, this is my third term as a member of parliament. I've served twice in the Rajya Sabha representing the state of Gujarat. We were in opposition and the Congress had introduced the bill in Rajya Sabha. And at that time, I'm very proud that my political organization said, we believe in this and hence we'll support the Congress, even if every other ally of the Congress deserted them. We supported them also in the hope that once it gets support in Rajya Sabha, the Congress had the numbers in the Lok Sabha, that's why they were in government. For 4.5 years, they did not move the needle on it in Lok Sabha. But today in hindsight, thank God that the bill passed under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. Because if you read the Congress document, it said that women cannot get the reservation for more than 2 terms, which means 10 years. So imagine a woman getting that reserved seat, working at it, and after 2 elections being told, you're done.
Yeah.
Just when she's about to peak her political career. That bill that was proposed by the Congress party not only lapsed in 2014, but also did not provide for a constitutional process or pathway for implementing reservation. Third, it denied even reservation for women from SC/ST families beyond a certain time span. Now imagine if that had been actioned. What a travesty of justice it would have been. The third part about the bill, I think what is most significant is that on the first working day of the new parliament building, what is the first piece of legislation that comes? That you've been waiting for 7 decades. We step into a new parliament building, we step in defiantly with the women of India to say, your time has come. So I think that to be a part of a process which says that we are not taking away the rights of any man, we are adding value politically to a system that has been waiting for us for 7 decades. I think that is the majesty of our constitution and our democratic processes.
Very well said.
So I was warned that I'm not supposed to ask any political question
can.
because it's a model code of conduct. And however, I've figured a way to ask a political question without making it a political question. So I'll ask you a political question and then I'll add a little appendage that helps me technically get away and show myself as compliant. One of the great successes of this government, this particular term of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government has been your work in Kashmir, 370 and 35A abrogation. And then when everybody said this would lead to these kinds of problems, we actually had the culmination of G20 also go, leaders from so many parts of the world went there, and all of you must have seen it on television and social media, etc. The question I'd like to ask you is this, and it's not a political question, it is, I cannot imagine seeing any Prime Minister of India or any political party except the Prime Minister Modi-led BJP take this kind of a decision. So, which is not my question, I'm just, how do you and your leadership take the kind of decisions which are risky? Where does this courage and confidence come from? How are you prepared if something goes wrong? And this question in that sense is relevant to everybody because in every walk of life we face risk, fear, and then we muster up courage, or as the slogan goes, "Dar ke aage jeeta," etc.
So, given that you are compliant to the Election Commission regulations, with that as a support being proffered by me, I think that there are, again, many facets to the Prime Minister's persona, politically and personally. He is probably the only political leader today who has personally traveled to every district of our country. Please remember, he has spent in a constitutional post close to 22 years. But before that, on the ground, he has spent 30 years in organizational activities and building an organization. Which means this gentleman comes with an experience of 50 years in our country, which is one of the most politically experienced individuals in our nation state. So, if there is any district or any issue that you would like to discuss with the Prime Minister, you can be rest assured that not only has he had extensive experience vis-a-vis his travels, but he has a fantastic memory. He can tell you what you said to him exactly 10 or 12 years ago. I've had the privilege of working with him now for 20 years. And if I've said something to him in the year 2007, I can be absolutely sure if that topic comes up again, he will tell me that you were in this particular spot, in this particular discussion, and you said this. And he would recount it without a paper in front of him. Then you have a Prime Minister who has always ensured that when he gives you his word, he keeps it. So if he has said in the manifesto that I will abrogate an article that brings about a genuine constitutional partition in our country, you know for sure he means it. When he says, I will ensure 33% reservation, you know he'll get it done. The only thing a journalist won't know is when. He said, we will build consensus around the Ram Mandir. He did. He had absolute majority. He did not do it with brute force, but he did not spend a single rupee of the taxpayer in building the Ram Mandir. It is a matter of astha, and that is how he applied himself to it. So there are many issues which the Prime Minister has done which are not spoken about. For instance, since the 1960s, there has been conversation in judicial systems and in legislative corridors about medical termination of pregnancy for women at 24 weeks. No political organization used to touch it, because for political organizations it used to be a contentious issue. Prime Minister Modi not only designed the legislation, had it passed in both houses of parliament with not a squeak from any political party against it. And as a compliment to all the men in my country, not one man stood against that piece of legislation. Now try this in any other country but us, and you will face opposition from various segments against a woman's right over her own reproductive system. So the Prime Minister has not only done the big decisions that you have spoken of, but he's also looked at the small things. And he says that I have been chosen not to maintain status quo. I have been chosen to take the tough decisions. What are the tough decisions? Never before we had a Prime Minister who goes to Red Fort to give a speech to the nation and talks about sanitary pad for women for 1 rupee. It was a subject that was taboo. No woman in our country before 2014 or after that ever went up to a politician to say, can you please build me a toilet? It's really, really tough. But he built it, got it done. And if you look at his journey politically as Prime Minister, as the head of the government, you will see that even in G20, women's issues were always on the sidelines discussed by civil society. Our Prime Minister said that if India has to give presidency to G20, how can we not use this opportunity to mainstream the female agenda in the G20 universe? And I'm witness to the fact that there were a little pushes and pulls that let's avoid this topic and not bring it to the main table. The Prime Minister was very vehement. He said, absolutely not. This is what we believe in. And if we can get it done for women of my country, we can get it done for women across the G20 world. So I think that his entire nine and a half years of service, if you look at the number of decisions he's taken, you will see not a day goes by where he's not done work which is substantial for our nation.
So, I just to get a sense of public opinion, how many of you think a lot more has been done in the last 9.5 years on women empowerment than before? So I'll make a statement. If you agree, the last 9.5 years, more has happened for women empowerment than perhaps the decade before, the decades before. If you agree, you can raise your hand. If you feel the Modi government has done a lot for women, you can raise. If you don't agree, you're okay.
And
Pretty
you know,
much.
I'll take exception to that adage, women's empowerment. It's as though we women have been waiting forever for somebody to come and rescue us. I think what Prime Minister Modi says is not women's empowerment. He says if as a nation state we need to grow boldly, women have to lead that development. So women-led development is what we talk about now.
My final question before we open the house to questions, we'll do a few more in the end again, but one of the aspects where people feel a lot more can be done, if there is any perceptible, objective sense of trouble in this country, it is the issue of unemployment. Our economy is growing, we are building better infrastructure, all those parameters are well understood. But the kind of technology in the world we live in, it's possible to achieve a lot with technology, machines, etc. Jobs are a concern. How does your government see entrepreneurs, or not just the big entrepreneurs, but medium and small, and in again this context, women entrepreneurs as growth engines to the country's economy, not just as taxpayers? Or how has this government seen? How do you see them being part of a solution to the country's larger economic?
I think it's ironical that you ask me about the unemployment rate at a time where we are at an all-time 6-year low at 3.2%. That rural unemployment has gone down to 2.4%, and that female labor participation has gone up to 37%, and male participation has gone up to 78%. But none of these tables also quantify the amount of work that women in self-help groups are doing in our country. We have 9 crore women, that is 90 million women, who are currently every year handling close to $37 billion worth of value of goods and services. None of the international indices count those women, but they exist. Prime Minister Modi, when he introduced Jan Dhan, there were many political parties which said that if you're opening a zero balance account, what is the point? It will be a burden on the banking system instead of providing opportunity financially to people. We opened close to 500 million, 50 crore accounts in this country. Now imagine before 2014, 50 crore Indians did not have a bank account. That's a large number. Now, if you look at the numbers today, what happened once these 50 crore people had a bank account? These are the poorest of the poor. Today, their collective holdings in those very bank accounts is 2,50,000 crores.
Quite a staggering thought, actually.
I think that conversations like this brings to fore many issues which possibly do not get discussed every day, but the numbers speak for themselves. For instance, if you look at the recent income tax return filings, for people with an income of 1 crore and more, it has gone up by 48.4%, which means not only do you have more and more individuals who become a part of the formal economy, now the citizen knows that if I pay my tax, it will not be misused in a scam. The Prime Minister will make sure that my money is utilized in building infrastructure for the country. For instance, there have been political organizations, especially during the pandemic, that said, let's give the money in the hand of the people, right? Now, if you are a fiend for research, you will know that for every rupee given, if you give it as a dole, the benefit is only 70 paisa. But for every rupee given, if you use it to build capital asset or infrastructure, then the benefit to the individual for that 1 rupee is 1 rupee 25 paisa. Now imagine your Prime Minister having that kind of faith and confidence in his economic agenda when there was global pressure, give away money. To say, no, I will create assets, create jobs. I had the privilege of being the textiles minister when the pandemic hit. Till the pandemic hit, India had never produced a single PPE suit in our entire manufacturing history. We did not have the raw material, we did not have the machines, global supply chains had shut down, we reoriented our entire manufacturing process. I as minister did not spend 1 rupee in subsidy. The only support I asked from my cabinet colleagues was, can you help us reach labs? DRDO turned around 11 labs across the country in a lockdown so that they could service the industry that is making PPE suits. We ended up becoming from 0 companies to 1100 companies in 3 months, and we became the second largest exporters in the world. And how many people got work in that 3 months of lockdown? 5 lakh people, of which 70% were women. So I think that there are indices which do not project the India story, and deliberately so. For instance, Global Hunger Index. That makes headlines now. Many people have said it's all hogwash. How do they build that index? 3,000 people in a country of 140 crore get a phone call from Gallup. And they're asked, are you hungry? Now trust me, I have left my house in Delhi in the morning at 4 today. I caught a flight at 5 to go to Kochi. I did a conclave there, got a flight at 5 o'clock to come to this program. By the time I get to anything called food, it'll be 10 o'clock. If you have called me any time in the day today and asked from Gallup, are you hungry? I'll say, oh yes, I am. And that index says Pakistan is doing better than India. Can you imagine? And then every time the Global Gender Gap Index comes, everybody writes a lot of articles, oh my God, the state of women. Do you know how they compute it? They do not consider women who fight elections and win in panchayats of any political value. We have 1.4 million women in India who get elected to panchayats. They are not counted. Women who win as MLAs are not counted. Women who are members of the Union Council, MOSs, don't get counted. Women who are ministers in state governments don't get counted. And I had the privilege of being at the World Economic Forum to say, we are 2 million elected women across this country. Start counting us and then see our numbers shoot up. In economic activity, they do not count the 9 crore women who work in self-help groups. They do not count women who are in the SME segment. So all those women, out of the 40 crore mudra loans that have been taken, 70% of them are women. They are not counted as economic contributors in our country in any indice. So the issue ultimately for every woman is, I exist, but am I counted?
So do I see some hands and some mics? Yes, yes. Oh, somebody has the mics, please? Oh, yeah. So we'll try and come to each one of you.
Can I have some
Yes.
warm water, please?
Good evening, Smriti ji. Thank you for coming to Flow Hyderabad. I'm Dr. Neelima Arya. Initially, you made a statement that most of the women in the hall share the same life, but they don't come here with a mic. I truly agree. My question is, how much ever women is competent, she is treated as secondary in this male-dominating society. So as an actress, as an artist, and as a politician, dynamic politician, what is your take on this? And I mean, if you agree upon this, how do you suggest?
I don't subject myself to victimhood. There is nobody in this world who can make me feel like a second-class citizen. And I come from a family, when I was born, my parents had only $150.
But we see women in many higher positions, but still we can see a thin line which is
Like
not
I said,
visible.
madam, if we embrace victimhood, it's a different story. I refuse to become a victim of either circumstances or narratives.
This is
I
a
think
signature
especially
of
women in
Smriti
this
ji
room
again.
can very confidently say that we, in this room at least, epitomize that we have carved a niche for ourselves. I always say, I am not defined by anybody else but me. And that is a lesson we need to give to our young women.
Thank you very much.
My relationships don't define me. My position doesn't define me. I define me.
Okay, Smriti ji, I have a question here. When do we see you as Prime Minister of India?
Next question.
Good evening, I'm Pooja Mitra.
You know he's from the Deccan Chronicle, right?
Hi, I'm Pooja Mitra.
I think it's already trending now.
Is it?
So, a few decades ago, I was just an Indian. Today, I'm a proud Indian. Having said
May I,
that,
ma'am, say this? You should always be a proud Indian.
Thank you. So, coming to my question, whether
Do
it's
not
political,
fault your country for the fault of politicians.
Yes. So on 23rd May 19, you on X, Twitter then, you had said, tweeted, कौन कहता है आसमान में सुराग नहीं होता, हो सकता. What's your way forward?
I have
That was-
collected pathars even after that
Yes, yes, yes.
to draw some new holes in the sky.
Yes, yes. I was
I think that that moment in time was about a woman who was considered a political nobody, went into constituency which was a family bastion for 5 decades. In 2014, I had 23 days to fight the election. And I went into a place which was governed by the UPA, both at the center and the state. And I didn't fight a political opponent only from one political organization. He was a candidate for 3 political parties. So it was 3 against me. In 2019, I had no guarantee I'll get the ticket. But from 14 onwards, in just 23 days, I received from 30,000 votes, which is the maximum the BJP had ever gotten, to 3 lakh votes in only 23 days. And I was very sure in 2014 that these 2,70,000 people had never met me, just saw me 20 days ago, but they have hope that I'll do something for them. So I stayed back for those who believed in me.
Good evening, Smriti ji. This is Mansi. So my question is, how is BJP going to tackle Telangana?
Actually,
By fighting it out.
just to add to that, this is something you have to explain to us. No, just a beautiful question.
Thank you.
When we look at how BJP has done its politics, how it's expanded, I come from Central India. I understand Central India and Western India a bit. The way it's expanded in state after state, then North, then Northeast, then East. But somewhere when we look at the way BJP has gone about approaching the South, all the 5 states, and the small state of Puducherry, and it looks like you just are not understanding it, or is there a I mean, something basically is mismatched, because the genius of it looks like Albert Einstein from Himachal, Kashmir to southern border of MP. Just cross south of MP and your political decisions, your strategies, nothing seemed to work. Why this mismatch?
I think that for a party that was born in the 1980s, which had only 2 members of parliament, to have today a decisive government has been a huge leap of not only political prowess, but political faith of the people of our country. You are comparing us to the decadal growth of political organizations that have been steeped in power for years on end. Second, I believe that with the expansion of communication and narrative platforms, there is an expectation that you'll do it now. If I give my own example, I polled the highest number of votes anybody ever got in Amethi, that includes the Gandhis. But that did not happen because I just dropped in one day and left. It is a process which is every day, which is contentious, which needs a lot of personal sacrifice. It also needs a little bit of blessings. So I think for you to presume that why cannot I have a political strategy that will overnight get me into power, and why should I not go through the process of the struggle of building a party booth by booth, would be denying certain political realities. Because at the end of the day, we have one of the most magnificent political orators and strategists in the country. However, for every citizen to engage with, we need to also give way to local leadership, new leadership, and leadership that sees generational shifts also. So if you presume that what is my strategy in Amethi is a strategy, let's say, I can use in Mehboob, that is not possible. Or for that matter, I can use in Malappuram, that is not possible. It depends on the fabric of politics of that particular locality. So my belief is that I am blessed, I have a cadre, I have an organization that irrespective of the lows, stays back to fight another day.
Yep, I truly agree. Yes, ma'am, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, madam. This is taking you back to the women's empowerment you spoke about. Because you work at the grassroots, I just wanted a little insight from you. Do you think our women in the country leave the elite of the cities away, districts, rural area? Do you think they are got that motivation and drive to continue the facility you have given them? Are they going to be able to sustain it? Because we have seen a lot of programs come and go for women in the districts, which fizzle out when a certain party, I'm not saying you're losing, I'm not hinting at that, but yes, will this momentum continue? Does this law give you enough teeth to the women to fight, get up and fight for their right and take it, the 30% reservation?
Ma'am, look at the number of seats we have for MLAs, MLCs and MPs. That is far less compared to the number of seats women fight in panchayats. I think it's time that we get over the arrogance that only women in urban India understand politics or can stick their neck out and possibly understand the variety of issues that politically and societally emanate in our country. And I say this with the most amount of respect towards you, but there was a time in our country where we felt issues like female feticide, issues like domestic violence, issues like, let's stick to these 2 issues which are most contentious. are issues which are dealt with families which have a literacy challenge, which is not true. In urban India, in working classes, with women with paychecks, you see more domestic violence than you see in rural India. The numbers are staggering in families which are educated and which still indulge in female feticide. The number of women who go out to vote in rural India are far more. If you look at the urban elite pockets, let's say Mumbai, South Mumbai, many a times there have been debates where the numbers are abysmal. So we have come to a time now where we need to get over the urban arrogance that emancipation is an understanding only of the urban literate elite, and those women or men for that matter who are a part of our rural construct do not have the capacity to take change forward. For instance, when I talk about 9 crore women who are in self-help groups handling $37 billion, they are not sitting in a city. Their NPA is less than 2%, which is staggering. Swanidhi is the Prime Minister's program for credit for people who are street vendors. Even in that program, 70% of the beneficiaries are women. Can you imagine street vendor women? Less than 2% NPA. Women in self-help groups, less than 2% NPA. And look at corporate structures run by the educated elite. Look at their NPAs. So I think that one, the presumption that rural India will not know how to look after itself or carry forward this legacy, I think again is a great injustice to their political perceptions and understanding. Two, I come from a constituency which is 85 to 90% rural. They're taking forward their political economic ambitions. For instance, in my constituency now in the past 4 years, I've been lucky enough to set up the AK-203 rifle factory, which is a collaboration between India and Russia, thanks to the Prime Minister and the Russian head of government. And we now ensure that that factory supplies the AK-203 through the entire Indian Armed Forces. I have Pepsi and Coke coming up and setting up factories there. I have UP's largest poultry feed factory there. I have UP's largest hatchery in Amethi, and I managed to do that without having a mother as an alliance head in 4 years. But small businesses in my district, ma'am, every year their offtake for credit for small businesses is 2,200 crores. So they're not only taking the loans, they're servicing the loans, they're paying back. That says a lot about the economic prowess and economic adeptness of our citizens.
Can we take the mic to this side? Just 1 second. Yes, ma'am. You're next. You're next. We have one more. Yeah, we have had question.
This
Yes,
is related to the news that we are listening every day related to the Israel war. If it escalates to the Third World War, what would be the status of India and how do you see it?
Ma'am, I think that given I'm in a constitutional position, I will not hypothecate in this situation because it has national and international repercussions. I think that such boisterous statements are best left to the Ministry of External Affairs and the Prime Minister's office.
So
We are a responsible fifth largest economy of the world. I can only say this, that during COVID, the one thing that we have resolutely said to the world is that we do not hold supply chains hostage for geopolitical needs. The second aspect that we have proven to the world is that we are frugal in our innovations, we are frugal in providing solutions, but we do not discriminate to help nation states. So I think coming from that footing, the responsible thing to do would not to be indulge in a hypothetical situation.
before the next question, was just to lighten up and a little distraction. This is an age where a lot of biopics are made, OTTs, sensation. If they make a biopic on you, who would you like to play your role of the actresses? I mean, Kangana Ranaut.
You know, she and I were born on the same day.
I had a few more names to offer, but you have chosen.
Go ahead with the names.
Swara Bhaskar, Deepika Padukone. Okay. Yeah,
She's thin, I'm fat.
she wouldn't get leave from her boss for 1 year to go and make a movie. Surely you figured that out. Vidya Balan. Okay. Yes, some ladies I saw hands here. Can
See,
the
there
mic?
should not be a biopic on me.
You don't want it to come out?
No, because the truth can never come out.
Ma'am.
Hello, Smriti ma'am. I am Mrs. Madhu Mathur. I just want to let you know that I had met you in the parliament last after, 6 years or so ago, and very audaciously I asked you, ma'am, could I just put my hand around your shoulder? So you were so good and said, yes, sure. And I still have that picture with me. So my friend today, Vibha, told me, Smriti is coming, are you wanting to come? So I thought, of course, she's been an inspiration for me. And ever since I met you and keep watching you all the time, and I'm like, doing a lot of
person who gave you the
multitasking.
mic is getting very
So now
nervous.
my question, my question is, ma'am, you don so many caps, like you are the Indian politician, you have been the former actress, TV star, and also a fashion model. Which one you really enjoyed and or are enjoying today? The roles, I mean, which role would really?
I enjoy being myself.
Yes,
No role
of
defines
course.
me.
That, of
Yes.
course.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome.
Can we move on? There's a gentleman at the end. Can you?
There's a gentleman who is being very, very adamant that his hand be
Yeah,
seen.
please give him.
Sit down, sir. It's a women's agenda. Yes, let the ladies ask.
Good
Yes.
evening, ma'am. My name is Sridevi Niru. I'm a social entrepreneur. The reason this question is complete from women to women, no agenda. I deal with a lot of women in the rural villages and even in the urban area. So I always have a question in mind which I wanted to ask the right person, and I think it's you. During any raid, during the sex worker, why are we only giving counseling to the women but not to the man?
I don't think that may be correct. In the Indian prison systems, you do have an opportunity to engage with the accused. But since my responsibility and realm of work falls within support of the victim, I have concentrated most of my life's work towards that. But I think men who are accused of heinous crimes have in the system received that intervention from medical authorities.
Can we have the next set of hands, please? Yeah, I see a lot there. Okay.
Madam, I'm Ananda. I work with the agriculture industry for the past 2 decades. And women in agriculture in India are largely invisible. And, what are you doing as a ministry to create an identity for women farmers? Because even in a small country like Philippines, I have seen, they have created a system where they get an identity as a farmer. Apart from the social, security systems like, Aadhaar card and everything, women don't have access to these resources, land and other resources, but they are getting an identity, women farmers. So what are you doing as a ministry in order to facilitate this? Because this is going largely unnoticed and their contribution is very significant to the industry.
Firstly, madam, that falls within the realm of the agriculture ministry. But there has been provisions done by the Prime Minister's office not only to ensure that agricultural mechanical inputs are supported by the government of India, especially for women farmers, but also every Krishi Vigyan Kendra in the country has specific programs designated not only to women who work as agricultural labor, but also women who want to use science and technology to enhance productivity in their farm areas. There has been substantial intervention made under the aegis of the Animal Husbandry Ministry, specifically for women who rear animals for milking and for other food processing industries. So the help for women in the farm sector oscillates from land to animal depending on the choice of the female. She may not be the owner of the land, but may want to indulge in pre-processing activities also, there is credit which is being provided through not only the ministry but also the Department of Financial Services for Women. When it comes to identity, madam, most of the identity emanates from the asset that you own, land or animal. So there are processes which, even through digitization and even through a program called Swamitva Yojana, where satellite imaging is used to determine the ownership of land, many of them then, over close to 40%, end up certifying the women who own that particular land. So the Prime Minister has particularly pushed the digitization process and the Swamitva Yojana only to ensure that more and more women get that particular right. But there are three segments which fall to be a challenge for women in the unorganized segment. One is health, second is insurance, third is ownership of property, correct? So Prime Minister Modi has built close to 3 crore homes, of which 50% are singularly owned by women or jointly owned. He has insisted on it. Under the Ayushman Bharat Yojana today, 48% of the hospital admissions that are happening, which includes women from the agricultural sector, are all women. And as of March of this year, only if you look at the numbers from 2021, 12 crore women in the rural segment and in the urban poor have gotten themselves checked for cancer of the cervix and breast cancer, free of cost. Second aspect is, we wanted more and more women to move from unorganized segment to organized because of issues like pension or issues like insurance. And that is why the Prime Minister started something called the Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima, which is 1 rupee insurance, up to 2 lakh rupees is made available. And today, 24 crore Indians have that insurance, of which 50% is women. The Atal Pension Yojana is available, which is 300 rupees a year to be given for a pension, which is around 3,000, 4,000 rupees. Again, crores of people have taken that pension yojana from the unorganized sector. Again, 40% of the beneficiaries are women. In fact, the Prime Minister started a digital education literacy program specifically for women in the rural areas of our country and in the urban poor. Close to 2.5 crore women have been certified as digitally literate.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Finally,
Oh, the gentleman, he should get the last question. I know it's discrimination for a change. Know what it means.
Good. You get the last question. So wait, please, ma'am. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. While we are Shruti Malpani here, while we are celebrating the reservation bill being passed, there is a news which I read 6 days ago, which says S. Chandrika Priyanga, Transport Minister in Puducherry government and the lone woman MLA in the assembly resigned from her post, alleging caste and gender discrimination. So while we are celebrating, we also hear a news like this. What is your take on that? What do you suggest?
I would not personally subjugate myself to defeat. A place in politics which has been rightfully earned with the support of the people, nobody gets me to be compelled enough to resign. Especially if they want to discriminate on behalf of my gender. And I'm sure Sri Ramji will recognize I am one of the people who is at the receiving end of the most vile attacks by opposition members. Those attacks are not on my work, but they are on my gender and my sexuality. I don't leave the post.
So your message is very clear.
I think that, like I said, there is an expectation that we will self-flagellate and reduce ourselves to victimhood. My message, irrespective of who you are, where you are, is to always fight back for what you believe in and what you've built. This lady here, then you, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. My name is Zainab and I'm a fitness and a wellness coach. On a lighter note,
I should have met you 20 years ago, yes.
So my question is not political, it's more into fitness. I just wanted to know, what do you do for fitness?
Do I look like I do something?
Then you should be doing something.
And somebody who leaves home at 4 in the morning and does not get back to a room to food till 10, 11 in the night.
No,
what do you-
but I mean, I feel that women in our country should also prioritize,
I
fitness.
completely agree. So I used to be an athlete when I was in school. I have been awarded for javelin and discus throw at the national level, at the district level,
Fantastic.
including martial arts. I have kids who are third dan black belts and are gold medalists not only in India for 7 years in a row, but also find their names in the Limca Book of Records. Internationally have earned medals for the country.
So you're really.
I think that it is a choice that I made. I cannot lie. I chose to work 18 hours a day to become who I am today. If that meant not sleeping more than 3 hours, that was my choice. If that meant not being picky about what I eat, that was my choice. I came back to work the third day after giving birth to both my babies.
Fantastic. So you're really.
Which is not something that I would ask everybody to indulge in, because there are physical repercussions for it, health repercussions for it. But if I had not done it, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you today. So it's a choice that I made. I'm okay with the fat jokes, but I still get to be the Union Cabinet Minister.
No, but seriously.
I think she deserves a big round of applause. Once. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hi, Smriti. I'm Smita here. My question is, what is the role of Indian women in sustainable development?
We define sustainable development. We will find you 10 ways of wearing the same garment if we come to it. We will find 10 ways of using a sabzi ka peel in either a pot, correct? Or we will recook it in some way or the other. We will know how to save water. We will know exactly what to do with limited resources. But the best part about how we sustain life, we know how to share. The biggest challenge is sharing of resources, and Indian women are absolutely adept at it. But when you are concerned about climate issues, as an Indian, be proud about the fact that we made international commitments on climate change at COP26. There was an expectation that climate change and related issues will find global finance. There was zero global finance. We have fulfilled all our climate international obligations by funding it as a nation ourselves. So if there is somebody who is the most climate responsible society and nation today in the world, that country, India.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Ma'am, the gentleman at the back is really waiting. Yes.
I got up twice.
Second last question, then
the
last
mic
question
didn't
with the lady in green, and then we go to the gentleman who has suffered enough. And maybe if we survive his question, we can take 2 more. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to ask you, ma'am, I'm from
Please remember, I'm a fat woman who's not eaten since 4 in the morning. Yes.
Okay, Karnataka elections brought fear into our hearts with all this freebie business. How are you all going to fight this election with so much of freebie, and where does the freebie come
So
from?
let's, ma'am, compute the freebie. I mean, I don't know how many people are maths wizards, but I'm sure everybody has a calculator on the phone, correct?
Yes.
So what does Mr. Gandhi say? And I'm not violating the code of conduct. Mr. Gandhi says he wants to
You are allowed to, we are not.
You're a journalist. You can get away with murder. So let's do a little computation, correct?
Yeah.
Every month through GST, what is the average earnings of our country? Somewhere close to 1,30,000 crore? 130, let's presume 1 lakh crore. All right? So it's an easy calculation. Now let's look at the number of people who benefit from Ayushman Bharat. 10 crore families?
Yeah.
Ma'am? Whoever is doing the math, can you please do this math? So he says, let's give Nyay, which is 70,000 rupees, to 10 crore families. How much is that?
70,000 crore?
70,000 rupees multiplied by 10 crore.
I'm bad in maths. I think someone said 7 lakh crore.
Huh?
700.
You can't even get the math done.
7 lakh crore.
Correct? So if you're earning, let's say, an average of 1 lakh crore a month as a country, which gets split between the center and the state, that means your yearly earnings is how much?
12 to 15 lakh.
So let's say we are at 12 to 15. I'm just doing the rough math here. Of which he wants to give 7 lakh crores.
I think the
Can
look
he-
answered the question.
Can he? I think these are the conversations we need to have.
Yes, we need to.
Because we pay for it. He might show that it is all free. And I'll tell you why, ma'am. I represent a constituency that he represented. Okay? And let me tell you, when I became the MP, what I found. I became the MP in 2019. Before that, ma'am, there was no CT scan machine in the entire Lok Sabha. There was no dialysis center in the entire Lok Sabha. There was no collector office in the entire Lok Sabha. There was no fire station in the entire Lok Sabha. My constituency was never connected to an expressway, ever. My constituency never had, while Mr. Gandhi was the MP, a fertilizer rack. My constituency did not have a soil testing lab. It did not have a Sainik school. It did not have a Krishi Vigyan Kendra. That's a constituency that has been held for 5 decades by that family. It did not have a police line. And the past 4.5 years, for the first time, ma'am, we gave 1,23,000 people homes. We gave them electricity. They had no electricity. 80% of my population did not have a toilet. And we've built under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana 93,000 homes. Just do the math, ma'am. If there are 5 people per home, how many people in my constituency did not have a home? This is what they gave to a place that they represented for 5 decades. And that's why today they don't have the courage to say they'll fight from that place again.
But will he come back to fight with you?
You know what is fascinating? In 2014, the family said, Smriti, who? And I remember I was in an aircraft. Yes, and sitting next to me was KCR's daughter. And she was like, please don't do something. And I reached out to Mrs. Vadra. I said, you said in 2014, Smriti who? I'm Smriti Irani. Hi, how are you? And I think the airline crew was terrified. Because they were like, is there going to be a mini war here? And I was like, no, don't worry. And what is fascinating is, when I went in 2014, of the 2,000 polling booths, I did not even have a table in 60% of the booths. I was running around alone. And today, I have 60,000 feet on ground. In 2022, they came together, the brother and the sister, to fight the Vidhan Sabha elections. Out of 5 assembly constituency, we made them lose the security deposit in 4 assembly constituencies. In 2019, they had close to 4 lakh votes. Today, and that is after they fought along with the BSP and SP to strengthen them. Today, they have a collective 1,20,000 vote in the entire constituency.
So, I must confess.
So, do you think they're coming back?
Firstly, confess a little secret. I'm not supposed to say this about FLO Hyderabad, but most of them are anyway supporters of your party. Second thing is, am I right or wrong? I mean, the question I'd like to ask is this. Prime Minister spoke about this here. It's a family dynasty parties. They have a DNA. There's a way they approach it. But on the other hand, when you look at India socially in terms of businesses, we are diners there. We have diners in Bollywood. People therefore say we are culturally like that. We believe family owns certain things. So why is it something?
Democracy cannot be owned. Parliament cannot be owned.
Now I'll ask you the most controversial question. Does Kavita keep in touch with you regularly?
You think? With my temperament?
I was supposed to ask you one last question, which is who's your favorite goddess, Lakshmi, Saraswati or Durga? But we got the answer already.
We divide gods now. We divide gods.
No,
so
no,
I've had the privilege of worshipping Mahadev and looking at the goddess as my mother. I don't see her in various forms, I see her as one. Ma'am, yes. Your mic is off.
Yeah. I believe your word because I visited your home few months back and you showed us your Yagyashala and your Puja Mandir.
You are letting out too many secrets, yes.
So I just wanted to ask you, in this technological world, and since you're a Minister for Women Development and Child Welfare, this technology women is being objectified a lot. And
Were you telling me she was not objectified without technology?
No, she was, but now it is more prominent because it's easily available on the tips of finger. And it is affecting today's youth, majorly the younger kids, what is easily available to them without any...
And if there are kids, who's regulating?
Sorry?
Who's regulating?
That is what I want to ask, that what is the government doing about...
You want the government to regulate your kids?
Not regulate the kids, but...
You see, the problem is, I remember when I used to act, people used to say, "Arey, aapka TV show dekhkar log kharab ho rahe hain." I said, "Mat dekho." Because you can't bring a child into life and then expect society to look after them. You set the rules of your house. You set the rules of engaging with your child. My kids said, "Sabki mummiyan unki best friend hai." I said, "Too bad, main nahi hu, because you'll get many friends, you'll only get one mother. You'll only get one parent, you'll only get one elder." So it's time to recognize we are responsible for our families and we can't leave our children for others to bring up and then bemoan the fact that they are getting destroyed because of technology. We have to teach our children responsible use of technology. We have to teach our children how they look upon women, how they talk when nobody is looking.
Just because, please understand, she's woken up at 4 o'clock or so. She's not had food.
He's just using me as an excuse. Yes, ma'am.
Last question.
I have to go to that gentleman. Okay. Indulge us. Yes, ma'am.
Madam, my question is, will our BJP be giving 33% women tickets in Telangana this time for the upcoming elections?
Ma'am, I can only say this much, that the BJP is the first political organization to ever give reservation for women within the organization. In fact, the two women who were the first beneficiaries of that reservation, one is me and the other is a lady called Nirmala Sitaraman. So the BJP will not only has already given institutionalized reservation within the party, but we are making sure every political party now toes that line and ensures that 33% tickets are given reservation for women. Yes. But do recognize, ma'am, there was reservation in panchayats, but today we've surpassed that also, and that's what gives a lot of men jitters. Yes. Gentlemen, thank you for your patience, sir. And he's got a paper written question.
For the opportunity, ma'am. So I have two quick
May I know
questions.
your name, please?
My name is Ujjwal. I'm a journalist with the PTI.
Ah, you're the journalist. Sit down. This is not a press conference. Yes. Last question,
Yes,
ma'am.
last. Somebody.
Your husband in your journey so far, and
he has tolerated all my adventures.
And what do you do for him in return?
Beg your pardon?
And what do you do for him in return? I'm sure it's not easy being married to the union minister.
That I don't look at relationships as transactions. You do this for me, I'll do that for you. Because that's not a relationship, that's a business deal. I can be successful, then I will do this for you. If I'm a failure, then I will not do that for you. So I think that what has been beneficial is that I was betrothed when I was 17. I'm 47. He has nowhere else to go. So,
Absolutely. Last question, anybody? Yes, ma'am. Last, final question. Go ahead.
In your extensive
do you realize you're all wearing the same kind of sarees? Yes.
We're actually wearing Telia Rumal, and
I know.
part of, yeah. And we know you love handlooms, and we've seen you wear Telia Rumal, twice, thrice, and we thought, why not?
We are giving him a little education in textiles. Yes.
I got a book.
I know.
We were actually advised by our chair to, take up handlooms today.
It's
and
match
Telia.
fixing.
Kind of.
Tell me, ma'am.
In your extensive experience in public service, what do you consider your most memorable, impactful initiative or achievement that has directly fostered positive change in the lives of Indian women? And how do you envision furthering these advancements in the coming years? I'll also tell you why I'm telling you this. My name is Arshia Afsar, and a major part of my family is always asking me why I am so pro Smriti Irani. And they're always like, why do you like her so much? And today I have a lot of things to tell them, but this answer is what I want to take back.
So thank you for your support against all opposition.
Quite a lot at that.
So let me give you 3-4 reasons to keep opposing those who oppose me. When I was 24, I was designated the USAID ambassador to India for the WHO ORS program. The ORS that you see with zinc, I had the privilege of introducing it to our country when I was 24 years old. I served there for 2 years as the USAID WHO ambassador. After that, I fought my first election when I was 27. But I also had the privilege of being elected from the Asia Pacific region by the International Parliamentary Union for writing up documentation for the Syrian crisis. This is not something which many people speak about me. The World Economic Forum in the year 2015 designated me as a young global leader. But as a minister and as a politician, I was the first politician in this country to do a separate manifesto for people with disabilities in our country, which is not very popularly known. In 2014, I became the first woman ever to be a cabinet minister of education. But the national education policy that you see today, the base document and interface with every academic institution, including 2 lakh village education councils, was all done by me. I made that document. I made something called the National Ranking Framework, which today ranks all educational institutions in the country, all higher education institutions. That's how students pick which are the best universities and colleges to go to. That was designed by me. The first MOOCs platform ever of the country, called Swayam. In 2014, we built it, we started it. Today, close to 1.75 crore students study over 1,000 courses. That first ever MOOCs platform in India was made. As a minister in INB, and Shriram is a part of it from the media business, we have something called the Bureau of Communication. I made the Bureau of Communication in India.
The only thing people are, why so many journalists are afraid of you? You scold them so badly, or?
No, I speak the truth, which is very disturbing for many people. As Minister Textile, not only did I help front making the PPE suit, but there's an industry called the Technical Textile Unit. Technical textiles is what you see used in satellites. Technical textiles is what you see in building of airports. Technical textiles is what you see in geotextiles. You see that fabric which supports mountains so that there is less landslide, or the fabric that goes as a lining for all ponds when you're trying to create beautification. The HSN code, the standardization technology of it, for 307 such items for the first time in India was done by me. As Minister of Women and Child Development, cybercrime and pornography for children as a piece of legislation was made punishable by me. Before, in India, if a child is lost, if a child dies, or if a child moves from one city to another, there was no documented regimen or framework under the law for any district magistrate. I had the privilege of making it for the first time in our country. And what else have I done? The one-stop center that you see if somebody works with women who are in need of protection, that was the Prime Minister's idea. And today, close to 700 districts operate them. That falls under my ministry's aegis. We've had the privilege of working on an issue called Poshan Tracker. The Prime Minister was very, very insistent that we connect all Anganwadis technologically. Today, 10 crore beneficiaries, of which 3 crore are women and 7 crore are children under the age of 6. We made that technology between 4 of us when lockdown was announced, because we wanted to make sure we could track every individual, especially those who are migrating. So in the past 1 year, close to 1 lakh citizens have used that facility, but there are 10 crores that get tracked and services delivered to them every day. That Poshan Tracker was made by me. So I've had the greatest of privileges of serving my country, and no matter what my department, I think I have a boss who has never questioned my desire to push limits. And there are times when he gives an idea and I take it to the ground. Very simple idea. We in India today in the Asian Games have a medal tally of 107 medals, correct? In 2018, we had 70 medals, right? In 2018, we had done well in 18 sporting disciplines. This time we did well in 22 sporting disciplines. The Prime Minister said, let's take it to every village in every MP's constituency. So I started this project in my constituency in Amethi on the 17th of September, which was the Prime Minister's birthday. And I culminated it after 25 days. And guess how many kids did we pick up from one constituency? We had 1,11,000 kids turn up.
Fantastic.
So that's my body of work.
Thank you so much. That is enough fodder for me to go back, because I know this is just touching the tip of the iceberg. I'm aware of that, but this for tonight should be enough for me and my family. So thank you from me, my husband, all of us. We absolutely are pro Smriti Irani. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, ma'am.
Rudyard Kipling quoted. Yours.
She started saying thank you.
I just
Now
have
because
one
nobody else
last
stands,
question.
since she's the last woman standing, she gets to ask the question. Sorry, yes, go
So,
ahead. And
yeah.
after this, please nobody stand. Because then I'll be rude to just switch to her. Yes.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, ma'am. So one last question regarding to textiles. As a Union Minister of Textiles.
I'm not that anymore. Yes.
I mean like former Union Minister of Textiles.
Yes.
So last few months back when you were here in ISB, I heard you saying about the importance of natural dyes.
Yes.
So I'm Nikhila Pedi, working with the textiles of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh in natural dyes. So I just want to ask you one question, like what is a best strategy or what are some of the strategies that
I think you've hit the best industry segment.
Sorry?
You've hit the best
Yes.
industry segment.
Yes.
There was a question here about sustainability. And there's a question here about conscientious buying vis-a-vis local textile and hand-woven textile.
Yes.
The strategy you may want to actually leverage is to ensure that you keep your price points competitive.
Yes.
Many people try to create a very niche product because it takes so much of an effort to
Time
do
and effort to
hand
make
weaving
it.
and natural dye.
True.
If you keep your price point competitive and you have a great technology team that can leverage Instagram, you have a winner, build a brand. And there's no better platform than Fiki Flow. So go with the flow.
Yes, I am in both. One question.
Before you conclude, my last word, I think she deserves a standing ovation.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Rudyard Kipling quoted, "Yours is the earth and that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son." To which Smriti ji humorously said he was not aware he was talking about Indian women. Thank you. It is my honor to invite Ms. Priya Gazdar, our Senior Vice Chairperson, Flow Hyderabad Chapter, to deliver the vote of thanks. Lastly, the Hyderabad Kirana Merchant Association office bearers would join us for facilitation, Mr. Avinash Devra and team. Thank you.
First and foremost, I'd like to express the heartfelt gratitude of all of us at Flow Hyderabad to our distinguished guest, Smriti Zubin Irani ji, for taking the time out of a demanding schedule to be here with us this evening. Smriti ji, through your narrative today, which resonated so deeply with all of us, you not only celebrated the achievements and potential of Indian women, but embodied it too. And your emphasis on the collaborative effort required to pave the way for a brighter future, marked by women-led development, is something we'll all take with our heart. Many thanks to Sri Ram Curry for steering the conversation in the most interesting directions. I'd also like to express our appreciation to our past chairpersons and each one of you in the audience for joining us and making this event such a grand success. For supporting us in bringing this session to Flow Hyderabad, I'd like to thank Premium Platinum sponsors Kaveri Seeds and Shiv Narayan Jewelers, Premium Diamond sponsor Freedom Oil, Diamond sponsor ARL Tires, and Initiative sponsor Prayag Nutri. Thank you once again, Smriti ji. It was truly an honor to have you here with us at Flow Hyderabad.